There are so many exotics in Destiny 2 that suck. So let's look at the biggest pieces of trash that are in desperate need of a buff. Starting with Tommy's Matchbook. This is a solar auto rifle that catches you on fire. That's pretty much it. This has next to no synergy with anything else in the game. Why would you ever want to damage yourself with your primary weapon? In most scenarios, this sets you up for an early grave, with the only upside being a little more damage and faster healing, but only for this chunk of your health bar. Not to mention, this takes up your exotic slot that you could use for a high damage heavy weapon, or something that deals with champions, or literally any other exotic because none of them catch you on fire. If you need a solar auto rifle, just go to the Enclave, grab the Deep Sight intro quest, and get yourself a free craftable Amit. It's a million times better than this. Another exotic that is pure garbage is Borealis. This is a sniper rifle that can swap between elements, and it really wants you to break elemental shields with it. The main problem here is that this is very situational. Not all activities have shields. Low activities have very few, and high level activities completely replace shielded enemies with champions, so they also have very few. Not to mention, elemental primaries can do the same job in about the same amount of time, and they have infinite ammo, so you'll never accidentally run out of ammo and then struggle to break a shield. In other words, you're better off using Hardlight. I can't stand symmetry. This scout rifle lets you build up dynamic charges with precision hits, then turn those into arc-seeking bullets for 10 seconds. The problem though is that this thing doesn't hit very hard. It takes multiple hits for red bars even in low level content, and in high level content, it takes almost an entire magazine to kill anything. The arc seekers are the same way. With 20 stacks of dynamic charge, it's great, but as soon as the 10 seconds are up, it's back to dealing terrible damage. Another exotic scout rifle that is very underwhelming is Wicked Implement. This is a new scout rifle that slows enemies by getting headshots. Each shot builds up the slow effect until they eventually freeze. That sounds really cool, but it takes 4 precision hits before the perk even starts. Most enemies will die in less than 4 shots, so you never even see the perk. Then on the other hand, in high-end content, you're mainly going to want to use this to stun overload champions. But once again, this takes 4 shots to activate, and by then the champion is already teleported twice and you missed a couple shots and maybe hit a body shot in between. So much could go wrong, especially when you consider any other scout rifle with overload can simply just hit a few body shots, not headshots. This exotic does have some interesting synergy with stasis subclasses, so I won't say it's terrible, but it does need some sort of buff to make it more consistent. You know what everyone loves? Floating in the air and shooting things with an SMG. Manticore. Dealing damage while grounded charges your anti-grav repulsors. This lets you hover in the air as you shoot your SMG, and dealing damage in the air extends the duration. One problem though, if you're in the air, everything will shoot you. Cover is the most important part of this game, and this exotic says, nah. This playstyle could probably work if you're really far away, but this is an SMG, so screw that. And once you're done floating, you can't even disable the hover mode. You just have to hang there for a couple seconds and wait for it to go away on its own. Now, you may be thinking this is good for a Heat Rises build where you spend most of your time in the air. Well, 1, that build sucks, and 2, this hover mode acts different from your glide, so it just turns into a confusing mess. Long story short, Manticore bad. It's not just exotic weapons that suck. Some exotic armor pieces really need a buff too. The worst Warlock exotic has to be Apotheosis Veil. This exotic says immediately regenerate health, melee, grenade, and rift energy upon activating your super, and nearby allies recharge abilities faster. Even if you do use all your abilities like it wants you to, once you pull off the whole combo, you're still stuck waiting minutes for your super to come back. And the class ability portion is negligible at best. It only saves like 1 second. This has to be one of the most useless exotics ever made. And they made an exotic that gives you glimmer when you pick up primary ammo. Sure, it does something, but how often do you think, I need a grenade right now? I better use my Chaos Reach. If this is your first exotic, great, use it. But if you have access to anything else, why would you ever consider this? When did I masterwork 2 of these? Hunters definitely have a lot of exotics that could use a buff, but I actually don't think any of them are truly bad. You can make an argument for using any of them. Although, Shards of Galanor did get a massive nerf a long time ago, and it has never been great since. This used to give you most of your Blade Barrage back after getting hits with it, but now it gives less energy and caps at 50% super. It's still okay, but not worth the exotic slot. Same thing with similar exotics like Skull of Daira Hamkara and Ursa Furiosa. Sure, they're all decent, but they need to do more to be comparable to most other exotics. Titans have an exotic that is really fun and really good in theory, but in practice, it just sucks. Severance Enclosure. Powered melee kills unleash a damaging explosion, and finishers make stronger explosions. This explosion is weird though. First off, it doesn't have any satisfying visual effect. The explosion is barely visible. On top of that, this does almost no damage. Yes, it kills red bars and lost sectors, but against anything else, it's next to nothing, as you can see from this servitor. Not to mention, this requires powered melee kills, which you won't have most of the time, unless you use Hammer Titan. And even with Hammer Titan, sometimes it just doesn't work, because there's a hidden cooldown on it. The finisher portion of this exotic is fine, but it still leaves me wanting more. If this dealt a little more damage, or had a chaining effect, or even just looked cool, I might consider using it, but until then, I have a dozen other things that are just better. Titans also have Icefall Mantle, an exotic that offers a decent ability, but at a massive cost. While wearing this, your class ability is replaced by a portable overshield, but while you have this overshield, you can't run or double jump. All you can do is walk slowly and shoot. The overshield is pretty thick and you can disable it at any time, so it could be worse, but the lack of mobility really kills this thing. I understand this would probably break the Crucible if it didn't have some sort of downside, but as of right now, the positive does not outweigh the negative. You know what else really sucks? The 3 exotic glaives from Witch Queen. These things are so bad that I don't even know what they do. Okay, so first off, these are class specific, so if you're a Titan and you want the Arc one, too bad. Titans have Void, Hunters have Arc, and Warlocks have Solar. Each of these require you to get full glaive energy, then you can convert that energy into a unique effect. Titans can create a tiny jello-shaped bubble, Hunters can create a Lightning Seeker that travels along the ground, and Warlocks can create a little healing turret. While all of these are useful in their own ways, they can be really annoying to use. You need to use your entire magazine without blocking just to get enough glaive energy to use the ability. Then, once you do get it, the effects are kinda redundant. Titans don't need a mini bubble because they already have barricades and actual bubble. Hunters don't need arc lightning because Volt Shot exists and is just better. And Warlocks are already the healing class. Why do we need more healing? Especially taking up our exotic weapon slot. It's just not worth it. Do not use these glaives, and definitely don't waste your exotic ciphers on them like I did. But that's just my opinion. What are some other exotics that need a buff? Let me know in the comments. And please explain to me why you think Apotheosis Veil is good. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Marshix, and I'll see you next time.